Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Mon. He will be on shortly. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. And right on cue, there he is, the man, the myth, the legend, repping the new color rush, Bengal Pulse shirts. Mon, I love it. They are fire. I cannot wait till mine comes in. Mon, can you show everybody real quick that shirt? It is fire. Let me see it, buddy.
You guys see it? Look at that.
Ooh, look at that. Color Rush Bengal Pulse. All right. Well, hey, listen, everybody. Welcome to the Bengal Pulse. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. We cannot wait to talk some Bengals schedule tonight on the Pulse with all of you guys. Make sure you put in the comments. Let us know your initial thoughts on this new Bengals schedule. Mon, I got to ask you, because you know I love you like a brother, but every single year, Mom, when the schedule's released, I'm always the confident one. Hey, it's a great schedule. And you're like, nah, not so fast, Jake. We got 3 games in a row. Da, 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 da. Mom, I want to know from the schedule, the most schedule pessimistic person I've ever met. What are your initial thoughts on this schedule, my man?
Yeah, okay, listen. Last year I wasn't that bad, but this year, listen, there are some scheduling quirks here I don't like. I think we have the potential to have a very fast start. That's a good thing. I just hate
Yes.
the fact that they have to play 3 games in 10 days, 2 of them being on the road. I think that's just, I don't think you're setting teams up to succeed that way. I think there's a couple other teams that have that little scheduling quirk. Um, they have 6 games, or they have 3, they have 6 games where they play on the road. They play 3 times on the road, back to back 3 times.
I know
Sorry,
what you're trying to say. Yes,
yeah, and
I know.
they only have 2 games. I think that's excessive. Let's put it that way. I just don't like some of the quirks in the scheduling. But I will say this: there's no excuse to start off slow this year. I
No.
expect the Bengals to be 5-1, 6-0 potentially at the start of the season because there's very winnable games, and a slow start is unacceptable. I think with a young team, a lot of young new starters, a lot of young guys getting more playing time, that could build confidence and that could help out towards the second half of the season.
Well, let's talk about Mon. Let's deep dive into this schedule, and I want to start with the primetime games first, and then we'll work our way through this thing. Once again, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We love you. We appreciate you. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for being here with Mon and I tonight to talk about. I'm going to say, Mon, this is one of the most exciting schedules I have seen in a very long time. Let's talk about the primetime games first, because that was the question. We asked Dan Horde. I asked him, what's the over-under with 5 games, 5 primetime games? And we were all under the impression, Mom, that you could only have 5, but it's actually 6 because 3 teams got 6 primetime games. For some reason, the Jets got 6, which is just absolutely the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. But here we go. The Bengals get 5 primetime games, Mom. 2 Monday night, 2 Thursday night, and 1 Sunday night game. Let's start with week 3. The Commanders in Paycor Stadium on Monday Night Football, Mom. That place is going to be rocking. And the other Monday night game comes toward the end of the schedule, week 14, at the Dallas Cowboys, going to Jerry World. Again, both primetime games coming against the NFC East. Mon, let's talk about these 2 Monday night games first. What do you think about them?
Yeah, I was hoping they would get those home games or some of those games against the AFC North, but the first game against Washington, they're going to be favored. That's probably going to be, are they? Is that game going to be shared? I was reading somewhere where there's going to be 2 Monday night games early in the season. Is that one of those games? Is there going to be 2
You know what?
games?
That's a good question. If anybody knows that, let us know in the comments section. I don't
It
think
is.
so. Oh, it
Yes.
is.
There's a
Okay.
7:30 game and an 8:30 game, and we are exclusive on ABC.
Okay. There you go.
All right.
Thank you, Eric. So, Mon, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts then on the Cowboys at the Cowboys in Jerry's world? That's a big time Monday night football game, right?
It is. The Dallas Cowboy game was going to be must see TV. Both these teams are going to be very good. Obviously, some of those games could get flexed out late in the season. I don't expect that to happen because I think the Bengals are obviously going to have a solid record, and so are the Cowboys. That's going to be a marquee matchup at the end of the season. Back to the Washington game, that's going to be good. They're going to have a new starting quarterback, and so they're going to be figuring things out. Joe will be week 3. Hopefully, he's going to be stronger. I definitely expect the Bengals to handle business that game. But I was expecting more AFC opponents, especially on Monday night. But hey, big market. Dallas game is going to be a really solid event down there in Jerry's world. And that game won't get flexed out. I really think both those teams will be relevant at the end of the season.
Well, Mon, the Bengals' only Sunday night game comes against another NFC East opponent. Crazy, right? 3 of the 5 primetime games, 3 of them against the NFC East, 2 of them against the AFC North. Sunday night at New York Giants, Mon, week 6. Week 6. What do you think about that game?
Well, it's a game we should be favored. I think we're going to take care of business. I hate the fact that it's on the road. I know I don't want to jump ahead here, but out of our 5 primetime games, only having 2 at Paycor really irritates me. It really
I know.
does.
I know.
And we'll touch base on that in a little bit. But I think the Bengals have been a marquee team for a few years, and I think they've earned the right to have more than more games at Paycor in prime time. But I expect the Bengals to take care of business against the Giants.
Well, let's talk about the 2 Thursday night games, Mon. Both of them coming against the AFC North, and you and I hate Thursday night games. We agree on that. What's up, Cornell? Thank you for joining us, my man. Who day to everybody again. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Mon, you and I hate those Thursday night games with a passion. And what do we get, Mon? Well, we get week 10 at the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday night football. And then we get one at Paycor toward the end of the year, week 16, against the Cleveland Browns. What do you think about these 2 Thursday night games, Mon?
I hate them. I can't stand it. I don't like Thursday night football. I really don't. And, you mentioned the Ravens game. That's 3 years in a row the Bengals play primetime football with the Ravens. I was listening to a podcast today. I think they said that the Ravens are on Thursday night football, or it's pretty much. I don't think they've been beaten. I don't. I heard that today. I mean, they're pretty much unbeatable at home, and to go there and play them is going to be tough. I don't like the second game on Thursday night. I think that's against Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Right?
Cleveland,
Yeah, that's the stretch of the schedule that drives me bonkers. They
Yeah.
played 3 games in 10 days. Are you kidding me? I know a couple other teams have that scheduling snafu, but I just think that's excessive. I just don't like it.
Well, I agree. I agree too. DZ, thank you very much for that super chat. We really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you very much, my man. All right, let's talk about because Dan Horde threw out his schedule thoughts, and I got to give Dan Horde credit again. He is. We just had him on the show last week. He is the best, and he threw out some really interesting thoughts, Mon, that I'm going to give to you now, and then I want to get your thoughts on them before we really dive into this schedule. So here's Dan Horde's thoughts, his initial thoughts on the schedule. The first one I love. 3 of the Bengals' first 4 games, Mon, against New England, Washington, and Carolina, they were a combined 10 for 41 last year. 10 for 41 last year. And all 3 of them have a new head coach, and 2 will have new starting quarterbacks. Again, you talk about a fast start, Mon. We've talked about it on this show. The Bengals have struggled in the beginning part of the year. I think they one and seven. The last 4 years, 1-7, Mon. Oh God, we want a fast start as Bengal fans, Mon, and this schedule sets up that very nicely. New England, Washington, Carolina, all of them not very good football teams, and all of them the Bengals will probably be favored by double digits. I know our guy Zim texted us, I think this morning, right? He texted us that the Bengals New England line is at 9.5 in the favor of the Bengals, and that's the highest by far in week one. So let's talk about these first 4 games, Mon, and we'll work our way down this schedule. But what do you think about those first 4? Obviously, at KC is thrown in there. I'm a big fan, although the Bengals have struggled early. I'm a big fan of playing Kansas City early on in the season. I think that is in our favor because we all know Patrick Mahomes is not the same Patrick Mahomes in September that he is in December. So let me get your thoughts on those first 4 games and what you think the Bengals record is going to be after those first 4 games. What do you think?
Well, they obviously, Captain Obvious here, they have to take care of business at home. They got to win New England. They got to win at Washington. It's got to happen. They have to dominate at Paycor, and they have to hopefully go 500 on the road, maybe a little better. I think they have more road games this year. New England got to first game of the season to me is the most. It's one of those where every team is fired up. Teams that aren't supposed to be good play a little over their head. New England struggled last year. They have a new coach. They're going to play hard. The Bengals are going to win that game, but it's going to be a tough game. It's not going to be a blowout. Cincinnati's going to win a hard-fought, tough game. Going out to Kansas City, I agree with you on the Chiefs. I really do. I like playing them early. I do because they're going to depend on some young players there. Maybe we can go in. It's going to be tough always playing in Kansas City, but we match up well against them. That's a 50-50 game to me. Washington, we got to win it. We got to win that game. At worst, we'll be 2-1. I'm hoping we're 3-0 at that time. Carolina, that's a must win. Carolina is going to be much improved. They had a rough season last year. At worst, I think we're 3-1 at this time. Okay. Baltimore, Cincinnati, the Bengals have to perform in the AFC North. They won one game last year, and that game, little asterisk there. Let's face it, the Ravens, or was it the Browns last year? It was the Browns.
It was the Browns, but let's put an asterisk on that too, because obviously Joe Burrow missed 1, 2, 3.5. No, he missed 3.5 of those games, he missed 3.5 of those games last year. So over half of the quarters played in the AFC North was without Joe Burrow. So I think you got to throw an asterisk there as well, Mon, right?
That's fair. I hear what you're saying. That is, but you have to remember the AFC North. The only team that didn't lose a quarterback was the Ravens. Every other team went through their roster with quarterbacks.
That's a good point.
But, they have to start winning in the AFC North. They have to, and it starts October 6th. The Bengals will win that game in Baltimore. I feel very confident about it. Playing the Giants in prime time, playing on the road is always tough. You start off. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead there. We're only doing the first 4 games.
Just 4 games for you.
Yeah.
And KP too. I know we threw it up there, the comment that KP made, but KP's right. I mean, we're talking about the Kansas City game. Rashee Rice definitely will be suspended for that game for sure. So Kansas City without one of their weapons on offense. Listen, Mon, I look at those first 4 games of the schedule, and I'm with you. I think worst case is 3-1, but I'm going to be honest with you, Mon. We look at these Bengals slow starts, and yes, some of it's poor play. 2 years ago was poor play, but Joe Burrow again has not been healthy in the beginning of the year. And a healthy Joe Burrow, I think, alleviates some of that discord that we get when we see this 1-7 record the last 4 years. I look at this schedule in the first 4 games. I mean, we always complain about getting the short end by the NFL, but those first 4 games are pretty sweet for the Bengals. And I think they're good tune-up games too for this team to get some momentum going forward. Because again, the next 4 games that we're going to talk about, you got three legitimate opponents. These next 4, you get Baltimore at home, which I'm very excited about. And I want to say that too, Mom. I don't remember the last time that the first 4 games did not include an AFC North team. I would love if somebody out there knows the answer to that. I would love to know the last time the Bengals did not play an AFC North game in the first 4 weeks of the season. I can't remember. I don't know. Maybe you know, Mon. Somebody out there, please put it in the comment section. But I love starting Baltimore at home. The Giants, Mon, that's a win. I mean, I know going on the road's hard and it's prime time, but Mon, I'm gonna be honest with you. The Giants are in disarray. That game should be a 3-score game. At Cleveland, to me, that's the one. Like, I look at the Baltimore game at home. The Bengals were 1 play away from beating them last year with a hobbled Joe Burrow at home. The Bengals are going to win that Baltimore game. I think that is a shoo-in win. The Giants game, shoo-in. But going at Cleveland, I think that is the game that I look at in the beginning part of this Bengals schedule that really rings true as far as a game the Bengals need to win. I mean, if this Bengals team goes to Cleveland, a team that they have struggled with for some reason or another, if they go to Cleveland and win this football game, it's going to set up the rest of the season. I know that sounds crazy, but it's just one of those things. The Bengals they just can't shake that off their back. And then they got Philadelphia at home, which I'm very happy about. The Eagles, not the same team on the road. So these next 4 I like, but I think that Cleveland game, I think that carries a little bit more weight than that Ravens game, because I'll be honest with you, I think the Ravens game is a win for the Bengals. What do you think?
Yeah, I jumped ahead a little bit there, talked about the Baltimore game.
Good. You're good.
No, but I think Baltimore at home, Cincinnati is a tough out at Paycor, and we just got to continue that trend. And Cincinnati just needs to dominate and win. I feel really confident about that game being in Cincinnati. At New York on prime time, I know the Giants struggled, uneven season form last year. Right. Playing on the road prime time, teams are fired up, so it's going to be a challenge. The Bengals are a better team. I expect another hard-fought game. Now, Cleveland, I mean, Jake, I hate to say this, but Cleveland has been the Bengals' Achilles heel.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. I mean, that's crazy.
Horrible matchups, just horrible. Matchup problems. Garrett just dominates the game. Cincinnati has to step up. They got to stop it. They got to produce. It's going to be a challenge going to Cleveland. I mean,
yes.
That's going to be what, game 7. We're going to see where the Bengals are there. Playing Philadelphia in Cincinnati is going to be a challenge. Also, they're a good team. I know they had a down season last year, but we got to protect Paycor. The Bengals have I think they win at 80+% rate at Paycor. We need to continue that trend, improve on those numbers. But I think the Bengals in that 4-game stretch, they got to be at least 3-1. And I think that's doable. I think that's doable in that 4-game stretch.
So we're saying 6-2 right now is your thought process going into this first 8. I love what Kevin said here. And Kevin, we're going to get to some of the cool things about the matchups, but Kevin talks about that Burrow-Daniels matchup, right? LSU versus LSU. That game is definitely going to be hyped up. No doubt. I have no doubt in my mind that's why that game is prime time, right? I mean, 2 Heisman Trophy winners, LSU versus LSU. There's no doubt that is why that game is prime time. But we'll get to that in just a second. And again, Ben says the Ravens podcast saying they're sweeping us again. They are not sweeping us again. They are absolutely insane. So 6-2, Mon, you think that is worst case scenario in those first 8 games? Is that correct?
Yeah, 6-2, maybe 5-3. Obviously, I'm worried about Kansas City. I am worried about the Eagle game a little bit and the Cleveland game. There's variables involved there. 6-2, I would be very happy with that. And I'm all Bengal homer. I really think 6-2 is very doable.
Well, and I think 7-1 is almost realistic, Mon. I know that might be a homer thing, but I really think 7-1 is very realistic with a healthy Joe Burrow. Let's talk about these next 4 weeks, including the bye week. I want to get your take on
Real
where
quick,
this
Jake.
bye.
Real quick, Jake.
Yeah,
Somebody's asking, what's the one loss you think out of those eight?
I'm going to be honest with you, and it just absolutely disgusts me to say this. I think at Cleveland. I don't have that feeling with Kansas City. I feel very comfortable with the Bengals going to Kansas City and winning that football game. They don't scare me, Mon. The Joe Burrow owns that stadium. I mean, Mon, we were a minute and 30 seconds away from being 4-0 against Patrick Mahomes with Joe Burrow. So I don't. I'm not concerned about that. That Kansas City game, I look at that as a win. I do, Mon. They don't scare me at all. We should have beat them last year with Jake Browning. Mon, we dominated that game. The Bengals have that team's number. But you know who has our number, Mon? The damn Cleveland Browns. And I just don't get it, Mon. I say this all the time, but I watch them play other teams, and it's like they're playing a different sport. They're terrible, but they line up against us, Mon, and they own us. They own
Yeah.
us, and I think that Cleveland game is that Zach Taylor has to win that game. And Mon, if the
Yeah.
Bengals go into that game with a healthy football team, with a healthy Joe Burrow, with no excuse on the table, that is a must-win game. I don't care if it's week 7. Zach Taylor has got to beat the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. He has to do it, Mon. He has to. So that's my loss. That is the loss I have right now. And we're going to go over our record of what we think the Bengals are going to be. But right now I have them at 7-1 because that damn Cleveland Brown game, I just don't like it. I don't like that game at all.
Yeah, I got 6-2. I mean, I want to be wrong. I would love to be 8-0, but I think 6-2 would be, and I feel optimistic about that. I would love 7-1 also. I just think this at Kansas City. I think Kansas City is going to lose week 1. I really
Mon,
do. Yeah.
Mon, I don't like to say when I'm right, but our guy Eric looked it up, and look underneath us, Mon. The Bengals have never started the season without playing an AFC North opponent in the first 4 games. I knew it, Mon. I could never remember the first 4 weeks. The Bengals. Thank you,
Sorry,
Eric.
Mom.
Thank
Listen,
you, Eric.
if I knew that Jake was
Eric,
going to get a victory
Eric,
lap, I wouldn't have
Eric,
researched that at all.
Eric. Good job, Eric. Good job, Eric. Yes, Eric, you get a raise. I'm going to double your salary, Eric. You did a great job tonight.
Don't call me for a week, Eric. Penalty box.
But seriously, I mean, Mon, I've been a Bengal fan for over 40 years. I can't remember when they have not played a division opponent in the first 4 games, and you see it there, man. The AFC, since they joined the AFC North, they have not. So, again, I like that. I think that's good for the Bengals. I really do. But let's go back, Mon. I said 7-1. I hate that Cleveland game. Give me your record of the Bengals right now. I know you said 6-2, but I want it in writing, Mon, right now. What is the Bengals record in the first 8 games?
6-2.
Okay. And who are the 2 losses?
I got Kansas City and Cleveland, and I want to be wrong.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair enough. But isn't it funny? We have this Cleveland, like this stigma. That's what I'm saying, Mon. This is a must win for Zach Taylor. He's got to beat him. Mon. Bengal fans should not be scared. We have owned that team for decades. Even when we were terrible, we owned them. He has got to beat them. Zach Taylor has got to beat the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. He's got to. It's a must win. All right, here we go.
It's a bad matchup for us. Go ahead. It's a bad matchup. Cleveland's a bad matchup. Go ahead, Jake.
It is. I agree. All right, next 4 games, Mon. Here we go. 7-1, 6-2. And now we go into an interesting stretch of this schedule, Mon. Very interesting stretch. The Raiders at home, which I love, right? We don't have to travel. At Baltimore on Thursday night. And then at Chargers on Sunday, the following Sunday, Mon. So the Bengals get a nice 10-day stretch there to travel out to LA and relax a little bit and adjust to the time change and do all the things that you would want to do on a travel out west situation. And then you got the bye week, week 12. Mon, I want to know what you think about the 3-game stretch and having the bye week, week 12. Because I love our bye week this year. I think it's perfect for the Bengals. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't mind the bye week being that long or that late in the season. I think that's great. I don't like this stretch of the schedule. I really despise it. The Las Vegas game.
Are you talking about starting at the Raiders or at the Eagles?
I'm talking at the Raiders.
Okay.
Yeah. We're Las Vegas. You mean there's a 3-game stretch with one being a bye. The Vegas game is a must-win in Paycor. We got to win that game because the next 2 are going to be a challenge. Baltimore is. I don't think they've lost a game on Thursday night since they implemented that. I think they're undefeated. And playing them on the road in Baltimore is going to be hard to do. That's going to be a tough game on a short week. It sucks. I hate that. I hate Thursday night football. I can't stand it. I mean, I love it, but I wish my team wasn't playing on Thursday night. And
it ruins the week, right? When the Bengals don't win that game, it's like the whole weekend sucks. The weekend just shuts down. It's awful.
Yeah. But, Jake, if you look at that, after that game in Baltimore, the Bengals play 1 game in 24 days.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. They play the Chargers out west. Listen, this is going to be a different Charger team with Harbaugh. They're going to run the ball, control the clock. It's going to be like his brother. The Bengals might only get the ball, 6 minutes or 6 possessions, 7 possessions.
6 minutes.
I just thought of something, a blooper I had last year saying the same phrase. I didn't say it just now, but it just made me think of that blooper.
Let's not say it again.
I don't know why. I just started thinking of that. I'm like, man,
let's not say that again, Mon. Let's not do that.
No, but it's having those 2 games at Baltimore on a short week. That's tough. That's a tough game. And the Chargers. I mean, these teams are going to mirror each other. They really are. I know the Chargers have this great quarterback with a cannon arm. They're going to run and control the clock. They really are. And it's just it's going to be tough. And then we get that bye week. But I do like the fact that the Bengals only play 1 game in a 24-day period. So if there's somebody with a nagging injury or something, we give them some time to heal.
Yes, I agree. And you know what I love, Mon? You know what I love even more than this schedule? I love Kinsey. Because Kinsey is Team Jake tonight. You know how I know she's Team Jake? Because she went and researched that Cleveland Brown Bengal record for me. Kinsey, thank you so much. I love you. I appreciate that. From 90 to 2017, the Bengals were 30-20 against the Cleveland Browns. Mon, in the 90s, that decade, what do we win? 43 games in 10 years? Again, that's when I want to go back to that Cleveland situation, Mon, because this is a game that I think really dictates this entire year. If the Bengals are healthy and Joe Burrow is healthy, the Bengals need to go into, thank you, Kinsey, the Bengals need to go into Cleveland and they need to win that game. And I'm telling you, Mom, there's going to be a different feeling when the Bengals go in there. I'm telling you, it's not just us fans, but the players feel it. And Zach Taylor has got to feel it too. When a team owns you, like the Pittsburgh Steelers did to Marvin Lewis for all those years, you've got to get that off your back. And he's got to. It's a must win. I know I keep talking about it, but it's so big for this team this year. If they can go in week 7 and beat Cleveland in Cleveland, I'm telling you right now, Mon, if they do, the Bengals are going to run their schedule. It's gonna be one of the best records we've seen in a while. All right,
Jake,
let me talk about. Yeah, go ahead.
No, the deal with Cleveland, it's one player. One player has wrecked it. I love the
Yeah.
stat from Kinsey, but Miles Garrett has been a one-man wrecking crew that comes
Yes,
to
he
the Cincinnati
has.
Bengals. He has, and there's
Yes.
no answer for him, and they have to counter it. There has to be an
Mon,
answer.
maybe the answer is maybe the Bengals found the answer, Mon. We got 3 tackles that are 6'8" and can move a little bit. I know Orlando Brown struggled a little bit, but Trent Brown, Mon, let me tell you, the reason why I wanted Trent Brown is because he owns Miles Garrett. He is one of the only tackles in the NFL that owns Miles Garrett. So I love the addition of Trent Brown. Maybe the Bengals have found it. And I'm telling you, that's why the Bengals signed Trent Brown. I'm telling you, because of Miles Garrett, that's why they did it. But the Vegas, Ravens, Chargers, again, these are all games that, without a doubt, I think the Bengals can win. The Chargers, like you said, they're not the same Chargers team. I don't even know of a receiver on that team. I can't even name a receiver on that team. You're right. They're going to try to line up and run the football. But I tell you, this Chargers team just doesn't do anything for me. I'm not really scared of them either.
So what do you
Obviously,
have in that 3-game span? What do you have in there in that 3-game span?
mm, 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 mm. The at Baltimore game on Thursday night, I don't like. I don't like the Bengals on Thursday night, and I do not like them doing a primetime game in Baltimore. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say the Bengals right now are 9-2 at the bye. 9-2 at the bye. At Cleveland, at Baltimore, I don't like those games. I think the Bengals beat the Raiders, and I don't think it's even close. And I think the Bengals beat the Chargers, and I don't think it's close. I don't think either one of those opponents give the Bengals any threat whatsoever. But at Baltimore on Thursday night, I absolutely hate. And like you said, I love one game in 24 days. I mean, this Bengals team is going to need the rest, right? I mean, they're going to need the rest.
I got 7-4. That's a Bengals record after 11.
Wow, 7-4, Mon.
Way too early. 7-4. That's what I got. I think playing out west is going to be tough. I think Harbaugh is going to change that team. Hey, I want to be wrong. I want you guys to if the Bengals beat them by 20, please give me the business that week.
Oh, we will. Oh, we will. Okay, here we go. So we come off the bye, and how awesome is that? Oh yeah, and Eric brought up a good point too. I wanted to bring up Eric's point. We talk about the cool things about the schedule. What about the Marvin Lewis returning to Paycor with the Las Vegas Raiders? What do you think about that? What do you think the reception is going to be? I love it, Eric. Good job bringing that up. What do you think the reception is going to be, Mon, when Marvin walks back in that stadium? Is he going to get boos or cheers? What do you think?
He'll get cheers. He's loved. I think the fan base will be receptive and kind to him. The Raiders are going to be, I think they're going to be a better team. I think that coaching staff is going to do a good job. But Cincinnati is going to be a tough out at Paycor. It's going to be hard to beat our Bengals at home.
Mon, the Bengals are going to beat them by 3 scores. They have no
Cincinnati will win that game. Cincinnati will win that game. You're not going to beat the Bengals at home. The Bengals are going to be a tough out at Paycor.
I think Marvin. I agree with everybody. I agree with all you guys. I think Marvin gets cheered. I think he deserves to get cheered. Let's not forget, we just talked about the lost decade of the 90s. Marvin Lewis, I know he couldn't beat the Steelers. I knew he couldn't win a playoff game, but that guy pulled us out of the dump. And I think Bengal fans recognize that. I know if I'm at that game, I will be cheering for Marvin Lewis. Yes.
Yeah, I would too.
You're
Listen,
muted, Eric. Eric, you're muted.
Sorry, Mon. I just wanted to jump in because we were at the Ring of Honor game last year, and Marvin was there, and he was treated with a really good reception. Everybody was wanting his
yeah,
autograph
he should.
and wanting to talk to him, and the city of Cincinnati just loves Marvin.
Oh yeah, oh
So,
yeah. I mean, he's a great man. He's
Absolutely,
a great man.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
He was very important to the team. Um, I'm old enough to remember the lost decade. That was a horrible stretch of Bengal football, and he came in, and I know he didn't win any playoff games, but he made the Bengals relevant again, and that was huge.
and he was a lot of people forget there he was instrumental in getting Mike Brown to change his ways. I mean, he gave Marvin a lot of control of that team that
He
no
did.
coach had ever had,
That's a
and
good point.
we
That's a
we
good
have
point.
to thank Marvin for ushering Mike Brown through that. The Bengals wouldn't be what they are now as far as front office goes with if Marvin wasn't there to make those changes.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I agree,
agree.
man. I agree.
And Ross, I love what Ross said. Ross, listen, Ross, I agree. If it weren't for Jeff Blake and Carl Pickens in the 90s, uh, that would have been, I don't even know what that would have been. We might not have won 20 games, Mon, if it wasn't for Jeff Blake and Carl Pickens in the 90s. All right. Here we go. The final stretch, Mon. We come off of that 24-day, just a nice little breather, and we get the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. Again, I give the NFL a lot of crap every year, but I really feel, Mon, that this schedule is set up nicely. The NFL did the Bengals a solid this year, and they deserve it, Mon. We played the hardest schedule last year ever, ever, ever. 14 teams in double-digit wins last year on a 17-game schedule, Mon. So we deserve this schedule. I'm just going to say that first. We come off the bye. We get Pittsburgh at home. And this is the stretch, Mon, that you do not like, right? Monday,
I don't.
Matt, let me throw it out there, and then I'm gonna let you say your piece, because I know you have some feelings and emotions about this. But we get Pittsburgh at home, Mon. That's a win. I'm telling you right now, we're going to sweep the Steelers. We're going to sweep the Steelers. They are not even on the radar this year. At Dallas, at Tennessee, again, another reunion, right? With Mr. Callahan in Tennessee and Tyler Boyd in Tennessee. And then you have Cleveland on a Thursday night game. I agree with you, Mon. That stretch of 3 games sucks. But in saying that, this Bengals team, Mon, is different, and they're built different. And listen, you can say what you want to about Zach Taylor, but that dude wins when it matters. He wins in December and he wins in January. And the Bengals have owned the month of December, Mon. So, yes, it's a tough stretch, but the Bengals have played well in December. And not only that, but Joe Burrow owns December. So let's talk about it, Mon. Let me hear this 4-game stretch that I know you hate. Tell me about it.
Yeah, Pittsburgh at home. I think Cincinnati's a hard out at Paycor. I've said that already on the show. Pittsburgh's not going to beat us there. Some reason last year we just matched up horribly against them. And we're going to win that game at Paycor, at Dallas, at Tennessee, at Cleveland. 3 games in 10 days. You got to be kidding me. I know they're not the only team. They're not the only team to have that same similar stretch. There's a couple other teams that have that too. You know, they talk about player safety, player this, player that. Bull crap. It's supposed to be 3 games in 21 days, not 3 games in 10 days. That's ridiculous. That's a horrible stretch of football. That really is. That's a horrible stretch. I don't like it at all. At Dallas on a Monday night that's a tough game. Dallas is going to be a premier team. At Tennessee, they spend a lot of money. Callahan knows the Bengals inside out. That's a tough game. Then you have to come in and play on a short week against a division opponent who you haven't matched up well against. You have not. And you get to play them at home, which is nice. I like that. You got to take care. Cincinnati's got to take care of business at home. That's an ugly stretch. I don't like it. But it is what it is. 3 games in 10 days. I mean, this is the This is a American football is a physical sport. These guys are killing each other out there. These bodies got to regenerate. They got to rest up. Playing 3 professional NFL games in 10 days. That's crazy, man. I just don't agree
Well,
with.
well, and let's talk about these games because at Tennessee, obviously, last year for some crazy reason, we played our worst game against Tennessee. Again, that game still baffles me how poorly we showed up and played that game. Mon, we did the Bengals Pulse that weekend, remotely at the restaurant for that game, and I don't get it because they were just terrible. But Dallas, Ben is talking about it. Dallas owns us, right? I mean, we cannot beat the Dallas Cowboys. It doesn't matter how bad they are, man. They they just play the Bengals really well. I don't get it. So I think that Dallas game is a tough matchup for the Bengals. Again, with it being on Monday night and on the road and all that stuff, but I do feel like the Bengals are built for this. I think Thursday night, the Cleveland Browns at home, I think that is a win for the Bengals. I think I have them splitting with Cleveland and Baltimore. But I know it's a tough 3-game stretch, Mon, but I do think, like I said, if that stretch was early on in the year, I would be more worried about it. But the Bengals just play well in December, Mon.
They do, and the 4 games is tough. But I think our team is going to be dialed in. You spoke about Joe Burrow playing well late in the season. I think we win 3 out of those 4 games, and I have us at the end of that. I have us 10-5 at that time. I have us winning at Pittsburgh at home against Pittsburgh. I have the Dallas game as a loss. I have us winning at Tennessee in a tough one, and beating Cleveland at Paycor because the Bengals are going to be a hard out at Paycor Stadium. So I have the Bengals at the end of that stretch at 10-5.
Okay, 10-5. Mon. I have the Bengals at 12-3. I think that Dallas game is a tough matchup. Again, like I said, the Bengals. I think the last time we played them, it was close, but we have just struggled against that team and in Dallas for the same reason. And yes, Cornell, right? Not only do we play Tennessee every year, but it's in Tennessee. I mean, how many years in a row are we going to play in Tennessee, Mon? Can we not get them in Paycor just one time? It's crazy, Mon. It feels like we play them every year in Tennessee. But yeah, I don't like that Dallas game at all. But you know what makes me feel better about that stretch, Mon? Real quick before we talk about the last 2 games, let me tell you the Steelers' last 8 games. Okay, real quick. I know we're not talking about the whole division. I just got to throw this out here because this is the craziest last 8 games I've ever seen on a schedule. Listen to this. Starting November 17th, all right, Ravens at Steelers. Then on the 21st of November, on a short week, Steelers at Browns. Then on December 1st, Steelers at Bengals. Then on December 8th, Browns at Steelers. Then on December 15th, Steelers at Eagles. Then on December 21st, Steelers at Ravens. Then on December 25th, Chiefs at Steelers. And then on January 5th, Bengals at Steelers. Mon, they play 6 divisional games in the last 8 weeks of the season. That is crazy. That is brutal. Is it not?
Yeah, that's an ugly stretch for them. That really
Oh
is.
my God.
And it's going to be
Wow.
interesting to see how that shakes out. But I don't know. So I have at this stretch, what did you have the team as 12-3?
I am at 12-3. So let's talk about these last two games
Okay.
here
Three
that
games.
I absolutely love. The last two games of the season, Mon, I just love them. I absolutely love them. Denver at home, that's a slam dunk win. And then at Pittsburgh to finish off the year. But again, Mon, I just rolled off to you Pittsburgh's last 8 games. That team is going to be decimated by the time they get to week 18 against us. Not to mention throwing us in there week 13. These are 2 wins for me, Mon. And yes, I have the Bengals at 14-3. That's what I have them
I
at.
got them. I got them winning the last two. I have them at 12-5. This is a way too early roster prediction, but 12-5. I feel pretty good about that actually. I think they win the last two. I think Pittsburgh could be out of it. Pittsburgh is accumulating a lot of talent. They got, they have a good roster. Their quarterback situation is a little bit of an unknown right now, but I have them 12-5. I have the
12 and
Bengals
5.
12-5.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. So 12-5. I have them at 14-3. Yes, it's way too early, Mon, but I don't know, man. I think if Joe Burrow's healthy, listen, I said it last week. The Bengals aren't going to get a chance very often to play a last place schedule. And yes, you and Eric talked about last week, or sorry, on Monday. You talked about this week on Monday. You guys talked about the Bengals schedule and how brutal it was last year and how well this team still played. If you put a healthy Bengals team on the field this year and a healthy Joe Burrow, I don't see any reason. I agree, Kenzie. I think we are going to be sending people week 18. I agree. I really seriously think with this schedule, Mon, the Bengals are playing with the 1 seed. I'm going to be honest with you. I really think the Bengals are a 1 seed this year. There's no reason for it. It's set up for them perfectly. What do you think about that?
I just want to think about it a little bit more. I think the Bengals. I think Jake. There's a lot of variables here. There really is. I'm optimistic.
Of course.
Optimistic. We still got to figure out Joe's wrists and everything. He looks great passing the ball right now. There's just a lot going on here. I'm just really uneasy about. I'm uneasy about the schedule, the stretch of the schedule that we talked about. But I think 12 wins is very doable. The Bengals, we saw last year, they lost their best player on defense, their best player on offense midway through the season, and they found a way to win 9 games. It's a good roster, and they got better after this draft. They got a lot of good players. This front office has done a good job accumulating talent, good coaching staff. I mean, the sky's the limit for the Cincinnati Bengals. I think 12 wins. I think the floor is 10. I think at worst, they win 10 games. I think at best they could win 15. All right. So I'm going with 12-5. That could change. We'll see. I still think they're going to add some players that are free agents. I really do. I think this roster is actually going to get a little better. So we'll see how it goes. I'm very optimistic. It is what it is. We'll see how it shakes.
Listen, I agree with Natty Ron. Mon, you stare at that Super Bowl logo, and there's stripes on there, my man. There's stripes. We're going to be partying on Bourbon Street. We already talked about it. Hey, listen, real quick, Mom, before we get out of here, because we didn't talk about this yet. I mean, how great is it? How great is it that Trey Hendrickson comes out this week and says what he said? Says, listen, don't listen to all the nonsense. I love it here. I was trying to work some stuff out for my family. I'm a Bengal. I'm going to be a Bengal. We heard about all this retirement nonsense, all this other BS. How great was that to get that reassurance from Trey, just saying, listen, guys, I'm here to win a Super Bowl. I want to be in Cincinnati forever. Wasn't that great? I mean, really, people trying to get clicks and all this other nonsense and agent talk and all this, and Trey just shut it all down. What do you think about that, Mon?
Yeah, I like seeing it. He didn't have to do that. It could have been divided. He didn't have to do it. And you know what? Maybe the Bengals are trying to say, hey, we'll get you another year, do this, that, and this. We haven't seen a decline in his play. He's probably one of the best free agent additions ever in Cincinnati Bengal history.
Maybe the best.
Yeah, he is. They got him for a bargain. They gave him a great contract at the time, but he did outplay his contract. He did re-up just 9 months ago on a 1-year extension. Maybe they give him another one, give him another few dollars up front. But the Bengals have to sign a lot of players. The Jamar Chase is something to monitor. He will sign his contract, guys. I'm looking at $40 million a year for him. I really think that's what it's going to be.
Well, listen, if Jetta gets that, then you already know Jamar's going to want that. But I do think the whole thing will be interesting to see how it plays out with T, and maybe Jamar wants T back. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. That's another show. That's another time. But I do think that's going to be interesting. Guys, listen, we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much. By the way, Eric says 17-0, Mon.
Eric, come up, Eric. Come up, Eric.
Eric says, listen what Eric says. Eric says, Miami Dolphins, put the champagne away because your day is done. Miami Dolphins, 72 Dolphins, it's over. The Bengals are running the table.
Listen,
Eric, calm down.
Tired.
Everybody calm down.
I am the homer from Florida that won't stop. I'm tired of hearing this. If Joe Burrow's healthy, crap. When Joe Burrow's healthy, undefeated. Nobody's beating us.
I love it.
Eric, I told you that I was going to put you on a 1-week timeout, but I'm going to do it after the show. But I want to praise you. I want to thank you for everything you've done for the show and everything you do behind the scenes. Bengal Pulse fans, Eric has become the glue. You're the best, buddy. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I'm not going to talk to you for a week.
Thank you.
Listen,
yes, Eric, thank you very much. And thank you for always showing when I'm right. I really appreciate it.
I don't have to show when Mon's right because it's the other 95% of the time.
Oh, God.
We're friends again.
Listen,
I waited for 1 week. We're back to being friends. All right.
For anybody that doesn't know, that follows the Pulse, I drive a Bengals striped car to and from work every day in Florida. So the next iteration of the car, it's got to have a Bengals Pulse logo, right?
We're doing it. We're doing it. Right on the hood, baby.
If I'm not the one that says 17-0, nobody's going to say 17-0. So we're going 17 and Joe. Mark it down.
Listen, if we go 17-0
in that car, if you do it, don't do anything stupid in the car.
Eric, listen, I'm going to say this right now. If we go 17-0 and win the Super Bowl, we have to win the Super Bowl. I am going to pay for the Bengal Pulse logo to go on the hood of your car if the Bengals win the Super Bowl and go 17-0.
If you go 17-0, I'm going to run down my street with my shirt off. It's going to
be, and they're gonna throw a game just for that.
They're going to shut down Titusville, the whole city. Yeah. Oh, God.
Bengals Pulse will get 10,000 subscribers alone.
You'll have a Bengals Pulse tattoo right here.
All right, guys.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. We're going to end on that because I don't even want that picture in my mind of Mon with a chest tattoo, let alone.
I'll show you right now. I'll show you guys.
That's good. We're good. All right. All right, guys. If you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. As always, guys, if you like this podcast, make sure you give us that 5-star review. We would very much appreciate that. Follow Mon on Twitter at the FireMon. Yes, we will plug that. At the FireMon. Follow me on Twitter at Coach Jake Owens 9. Follow Eric on Twitter at eFlash with 2 H's 88. Follow Cincinnati Podcast Network on Twitter at Cincinnati Pod. And as always, guys, follow the Bengals Pulse on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse9 on Instagram. The same without the at Bengals_Pulse9. And as always, guys, check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Cincinnati Podcast Network. Guys, we're going to be back on Monday night with a show you are not going to want to miss. We have a surprise guest that you are going to love. So make sure you tune in Monday night at 7:30 live here on the Bengals Pulse. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We love you. We appreciate you. Hoo-day, Bengal fans. We will see you on Monday night.
See you guys.